I think a lot of queer people have these kind of compartmentalized identities. Just, you know, there's things that you talk with your gay friends about that you don't talk to your straight friends about, or there's things that you don't talk to your family about, or there's things that you don't talk about at work. And, you know, I think, so we all kind of grow up having these identities where you're not necessarily always your entire full self for everyone. And so I think that
I've just been belligerent my whole life.
Yeah. I mean, some people are just 100% same person in every situation. And I admire that. And I think for me, you know, I tend to navigate it a little bit more like, oh, is that too much? Too little? And I think, you know, and so there,
I'm like, I'm too much.
Yeah. But yeah, sometimes like in my paintings, I'll have like, it appears just like a landscape, but in the background, there's like guys cruising and, you know, fucking behind bushes. And, you know, I think that I like that kind of dual element to it where it's, you know, it feels more like real life a little bit, where like there's parts of you that aren't always at the forefront too.
Yeah. Welcome to What's My Thesis. I'm Javier Proenza, and today my guest is Jay Carino.
Hi,
how's it going?
It's good.
I just sat down and realized like I didn't take a breath, but that's okay. Well, cool. We were just literally talking about your name thing, because you are on Instagram. You're J.Carino.
Yeah.
And I put Carino because te tengo cariño.
Yeah. So it's Italian. So there's no
there's no N.
No accent. Yeah.
But what's your other name?
So my real name is Evan Turk.
Jay Carino is your real name too.
That's true. Yeah. Now it is. But I work as a children's book author and illustrator also. And so when I started my painting practice, I decided to keep those as separate as possible. And especially in the beginning. But now it's kind of, you know, it is what it is, but yeah.
Well, how long ago did you start? I mean, the world has changed.
About 6 years ago, I think.
6 years ago. Yeah. 6 years ago, I think it's a little bit more. I mean, they're still protesting it, but I think that like.
Oh no, it's getting bad again. Yeah.
Yeah, you're having problems.
Not me specifically, but I have, you know, friends who are queer authors and illustrators, and it's not an easy landscape to navigate. So
no, I bet. Well, I was telling you that my friend Dakota Newt had done a show, like he was targeted by a campaign online, and like there were other queer people in the show, but I think because of his content, like because he dresses up in cutouts and dances, like it resonated as particularly egregious to this group. So they basically, one of the cool things is that the Rand Library picked it up after I'm not going to say who brought it down, but yeah, like when I saw that happening, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I live in constant fear of being canceled.
Yeah. I mean, one of my friends is on the like most banned books in the country list. And
really?
He still has to deal with all of that every time he comes.
Oh my God.
Out, so yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
what, I mean, you first of all, you just got into a New American Paintings issue.
Yes,
okay. And by Jerry Saltz, I think.
Yeah, that was very cool.
Yeah. Congratulations on that.
That's why I applied, because, you know, I've been rejected a few times, and I was like, Jerry Saltz, I should apply this time. So
yeah,
I'm glad it worked out and got on the cover. It was very cool. So.
You got on the cover. That is pretty cool. Amazing.
He still won't follow me back on Instagram, but
well, you know, that's
at least
one of
I haven't been blocked yet.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Congratulations. I mean, that's really cool. When I'm always curious about how other things outside of like what I'm familiar with in the art world are about. So you applied to be in that magazine? Yeah,
they have like quarterly for each region of the United States, and you just apply with a few images.
Cool.
And that's pretty much, you don't write anything.
You don't write anything?
No, and they do it blind, so it's just based on whatever the particular juror
likes. Wow, man. Yeah. That's a really cool process.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean,
it's fun when you get in. It's less fun when you get rejection. But yeah.
Do they give rejection letters?
They do. Yeah.
I just had a bunch of people apply to something that someone put on, because I was like, yeah, this is cool. And then no one got rejection letters, so they don't know.
Oh, no. That's the worst.
So it's like, but you know, it's Schrodinger's cat.
That's true.
You don't necessarily
keep the hope alive.
Well, okay, cool. I have a bunch of questions about the dual life, you started doing usually I start with the art origin, so I'm interested in that, and then as we unveil that, I'm curious. The children's book writing came first.
Yeah. So, do you want to start at the beginning?
Yeah,
or start?
yeah.
Okay, so,
I just wanted you to know that beat is what is what one of the things that I want to know.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've always been drawing and painting and
since how young?
Very little. Yeah.
You just never stopped from kindergarten.
Pretty much, honestly. Yeah. My mom is an artist, and she was an elementary school art teacher for 20 years, and she was a muralist when we were growing up. And, she was a commercial interior designer. So she was always very encouraging of anything in the arts with us. And so, yeah, I was always drawing. And then I went to NYU, but not for art.
Where are you from?
From Colorado.
Colorado. Okay.
Yeah. So grew up in Colorado.
What part?
Littleton, just outside Denver.
Littleton. That's familiar from
Columbine.
Oh, okay. As I started that sentence, I realized where it was going to end.
No, it's interesting because that was like right when I was growing up. And so a lot of times I have columbines in my paintings just because they're one of my favorite flowers, but I always have kind of that.
I also forget it's a flower.
Double association with them where it's kind of, beauty, but death and kind of, so I have a lot of columbines in my paintings too.
So wait, how old were you when that happened?
I think like 5th grade.
So you were still in school? Because I had graduated.
Oh, okay. No, that was, it was.
I think I had graduated.
The high school that my brother was supposed to have gone to, but he open enrolled in a different school, but he was supposed to be at Columbine.
Wow.
So yeah, that was definitely a weird, just very painful.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to mind this.
No, but it's part of our world today. And it's weird to think that the first one happened, where.
Well, I mean, first one that blew up that big
attention.
Yeah. People have been crazy in this country for a long time.
That's true. Particularly in Colorado.
Yeah. And let's also not put that on Colorado. Yeah. Because I'm from Florida and,
that's true.
we had Parkland, they spread it. It's a equal opportunity massacre city or country. Wow.
got dark quick there, but yes, from Littleton, Colorado, and then moved to New York for college.
Okay, where'd you go?
So I went to NYU originally. I was thinking like journalism or psychology, even though I had always been doing art. I never really thought of it career-wise.
Because your mom was an art teacher, and you.
I don't know why it was, to be honest, because she never discouraged it or anything. Okay. I think.
I meant it more as like a rebellion.
Rebelling.
Like, this is kind of lame, Mom.
No, I loved it, but yeah, then I got a job doing graphic design for the student paper.
Okay.
At NYU, and really loved it. And then I ended up.
Did you have any graphic design training?
Just like stuff that I had done.
You had
for
a portfolio.
Myself. It kinda, yeah. Like
enough to show.
Like a lot of nerds of my generation, like I had my own website that I had like designed and things. It was for video games. I don't know,
Which video games?
A lot of Final Fantasy websites.
Oh my god!
So yeah, I had done a lot of stuff like that, and just was always kind of doing the background. So I ended up doing that, and then I loved it, and it started to feel like it could be a career, and so I ended up transferring to Parsons.
Okay.
For illustration. Well, first for graphic design, and then I switched to illustration the next semester, and that's kind of where I landed.
And so drawing by hand is... What do you love more, drawing or painting?
Drawing.
I know.
But I think...
We paint because we have to.
I do like painting, and I'm learning to like it more. I think the scale I really like about painting, which is fun, and the... getting to kind of just focus on color is fun, but if I had to pick something, it would always be
Desert Island tools would all be drawing tools.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you. And you could make new ones there too.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. So then, okay, like, was there a moment that you remember like switching your brain into being like, okay, this is something, being an artist is something I have to contend with, or like, I never say that it's like a calling, because that's a little too like grandiose, but I do think of it a little bit like a burden, like a little bit like you're not going to be happy if you don't do something with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely transferring to Parsons was a big.
But what made you do that click? Like what?
I'm not even entirely. I think it was just the feeling of being able to do something creatively that was visual, and then the satisfaction of seeing that from beginning to end, and kind of just that feeling of accomplishment, I think really I ended up enjoying it more than any of my regular classes at NYU, and I was like kind of like always thinking about it and was really excited. And so I think that was just kind of something that clicked for me. I was like, maybe this is what you should be doing instead. And
then you went into illustration. So what the trajectory was it at that point to become a painter? Because it sounded like earlier when we were talking that one came first.
It wasn't necessarily to be a painter. I think so one of my first class that I had at Parsons was this elective that I took called motion drawing with this teacher, Veronica Lawler, who I've known her for over 20 years now. And,
wow.
But she really kind of changed my life in that one class. And, her kind of thesis, her and another teacher, Margaret Hurst, they ran a school outside of Parsons that was like a private school that they would invite students to be a part of. And their whole thing was kind of blurring the lines between fine art and illustration. And it was all about drawing from life. So I started taking her classes where it was drawing from the figure or going out and doing reportage illustration.
What's reportage?
That's where you like go on location and you're doing illustration. So
is that different than plein air?
It is, because plein air is more like you're trying to make an art piece.
Okay.
And then reportage would be like if you go to an event.
Does it come from the French word for reporting?
Okay. Yeah. So it's and
documentage.
So exactly. Yes. Okay. With an accent. But so I kind of learned a lot about that from them, and I ended up taking all of the classes they offered at Parsons, and then I would take classes every summer with them and on weekends, and just really doing as much drawing from life as humanly possible. I studied with them for about 12 years, I think. Before,
and all of this was drawing.
Yeah.
No painting. I mean,
there's like, using watercolors and mixed media and things like that. But it was, drawing. Yeah. It's still drawing.
You're taking me back to my days where I was passionate about drawing. I was doing plein air because I was fancy.
Yeah, I guess it was plein air, but we were,
No.
We were more rugged, so it felt more like reportage.
No. I'm learning.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that was kind of my biggest influence were those classes. And, so I think that really changed the way that I thought about illustration. And I think because the way that they taught was, looking at master painters and illustrators, it really felt like they were two sides of the same coin. Like it didn't feel like there was a distinction between them as much, which I really responded to, I think.
And so like the career as is that like your main gig, the writing?
It's about 50-50 now.
Holy
with painting.
Shit, you're broke into too hard to break into industries. Fuck off, get out of here. No.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of my first job out of school was illustrating a picture book. And so that was very cool. It was for Arun Gandhi, and it was one of the authors, who's Gandhi's grandson.
Okay.
And Bethany Hegedus was the other author, and it's called Grandfather Gandhi. And it was just kind of this amazing first thing to work on, where I got to illustrate the book in a way that felt very personal and exciting to me. And it was great. And so I've just been kind of working in that sphere ever since.
That's amazing.
I think I'm up to something like 14 books now, or
what?
Yeah. So it's
and it's usually for kids, or it varies.
No, it's all for kids, but they tend to be a little bit longer, more nonfiction. So like,
nonfiction,
3rd through 5th grade. Yeah.
Like what? Like
the last one I wrote was a biography of David Hockney, who's one of my favorite painters.
You stepped on a joke I was trying to formulate.
Oh no, sorry.
No, it's
Let's set it up again.
No, I was gonna say something like Appley the apple learns about its like process of going through someone's body.
Exactly. Yes,
and then
tapeworm.
planting it. Yeah. Yeah. You transcribed what's it called? System of the Downs. My tapeworm tells me what to do.
There we
made
go.
it a book. Yeah.
A very, very hungry tapeworm.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. I mean, holy shit. Like I'm in the presence of competence.
I hope so. Yeah.
So then how did the painting become the second thing? So I'm guessing at one point you were living entirely from being an author?
Children's book. Yeah. And I used to do kind of concept illustration for games and media and stuff, which was also really fun. And animation.
So then before people made the ZBrush kind of characters, you would just draw
ZBrush?
Or like the 3D modeling stuff.
Yeah, I would.
It would be kind of like storyboards for video games kind of thing.
Yeah, like I
but
did
concept
a
art.
lot of storyboards. I would do like little limited animation things for, it was mostly like educational video games and things like that, which was really fun. It was just kind of an exercise in
Not Final
storytelling.
Fantasy.
Not Final Fantasy.
I was going to ask you, why are all my gay nerd friends obsessed with Final Fantasy? Like
I don't know. Maybe it's like the gayest of the video game, because like
are there queer relationships in it?
no. There's a lot of like gender ambiguous men.
Okay.
Who are like
who are cute.
Yeah, like handsome gender ambiguous men, and then like a lot of like hot powerful women.
Yeah.
Which is also like catnip to gay men. So I think when I came out, my brother was like,
so different.
No, when I came out, my brother was like, why were you drawing so many like big breasted women? I was like, I don't know, they were in the games I was playing. Like they were great. I loved them.
Well, that's funny because Dakota and Christopher Anthony Velasco, his partner, they're both really into like slasher horror movies, and they just love movie. Like the more breasts the movies have, the better. They're not. I don't know that they have the same interest in the breasts as I do, but
probably not. Yeah.
No, well, I guess we all ate from them at some point, right?
True.
There's an appreciation, and we like moms. No.
Yeah. We love moms. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to break some male stereotypes now that the Democratic Party is trying so hard to be like, how do we get them back?
It's like moms, breasts. I don't know. Yeah,
breasts. Oh, yeah. I think you're onto something.
You'll get the gay vote, I guess.
Yeah. Well, so then painting. When did you start? Like, did you always have like a painting practice?
No, I mean, I would do a lot of, and in this case, I would call it kind of just plein air, but I would do a lot of just landscapes.
Is that what you currently do now, plein air, or
somewhat,
okay.
Kind of for study, but I would do it with pastels. So it would just be they're like little pastel paintings, but I was doing that for a few years, kind of just in my spare time, apart from the children's books, and really loved doing that. And I think that it kind of whet my appetite a little bit for going a little bit away from illustration. And then there was kind of like a few factors that all kind of coincided at once that I think made me kind of make the jump. One, I did a book about Ben Shahn, who's one of my favorite painters.
Okay.
Which was amazing. So I was reading a lot of biographies of him, and then I was writing the one about David Hockney and reading a lot of biographies about him. And I think just hearing about their experience as artists is like, oh, I kind of want to be doing that, not just doing the illustration side of it. So that was part of it. And then quite honestly, discovering like the queer figurative painting movement had just kind of blown up around the same time, like 2019-ish.
Okay.
I found out about Louis Fratino and Ron Langberg, and they both happened to have shows in New York at the same time. And I kind of went in and was like, wow, I didn't even know that I think it just, my brain hadn't really gone there yet. I had never really seen people making art that spoke to the queer experience. And I think it was kind of a mind-opening experience for me.
Yeah.
And so I think, butting up against a little bit the very buttoned up nature of the children's book world, I think I was like, oh, maybe I can just do this for myself. And it doesn't, and I think that was really inspiring. And so I kind of just started doing like vaguely erotic drawings. And it was on like a completely anonymous Instagram account that had like nothing connected to it, no name, no face, anything.
What was this account? Is it still around?
No, it's not. It turned into my current account.
Oh, okay.
So eventually, I don't remember what it was called in the beginning, but and then I started doing that for a while, and then COVID happened. And gay men are always just very willing to be naked. So I would get like requests of people would be like,
I think all men are willing to be naked.
Yeah.
It's just nobody, only other men want to see it.
Right. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah. There's a willing audience, but so people would like reach out and be like, oh, I'd love to model for you. And I'm like, oh, well, it's COVID. We can't really do anything. And, one guy was like, well, I'll pose over Zoom if you want. And I was like, okay.
Interesting.
So we did it. And, I thought it would feel more different from drawing from life, because I hate drawing from photographs. So I thought, I was a little hesitant, but I think because the person's still moving and there's still, that it still feels like you're drawing a living person. It was really great. So I started doing that during COVID. I ended up doing probably like 40 or 50 sessions with people like all over the world. So I'd have to schedule it where I like wake up at 6 a.m. to like make sure it was at the same time
That's
as someone in India or, you know. And so that was really cool. And
Wait, so these were again international gay men?
Yeah, yeah.
How did you end up with only gay men? Like, were you on Grindr, or is like were there message
it was just
boards?
all through Instagram.
All through Instagram.
Yeah, and I think
it was just more comfortable for you to broach. I guess as a queer person, approaching a straight guy might be weird.
Yeah, and I mean, I honestly never really approached anyone. It would usually be like whoever reached out in my DMs. I would, you know.
They wanted to post?
Yeah.
Oh, so you sent out you were like, hey.
No, I never even sent anything out. I would just kind of be posting drawings, and then people would be like, hey, you should draw me.
How many of these people try to hook up with you?
I mean, we're thousands of miles away, so 0, but...
Yeah, but I've noticed that there's a strong economy of people outside of LA looking for people in LA to date so they can come.
Okay. Well, this was while I was back in New York still.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay. Yeah.
But no, it was fun, and I got to meet a lot of cool people and, you know, have nice conversations, and I really got into the process of doing the drawing, and so I started doing that, and I was doing my children's book work at the same time. But again, it was one of those things where it was like, as I was doing this, I was like, this is kind of more exciting for me right now to be doing this other stuff. And so kind of I kept pursuing it, showed it a couple places, and then I started taking it a little bit more seriously and started, you know, thinking more about incorporating other things into the artwork instead of having them just be the figure drawings. And yeah, one thing led to another, and then here we are like 6 years later.
Now you have a dual career.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting
And Jerry Saltz
process.
likes your work.
Yeah, in theory.
In theory, yeah. Maybe once he gets to know you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That's crazy. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard to like imagine that. Like, one thing I was thinking, it's hard to imagine that anybody like wants to pursue art without having an experience like the one you did. What was the show that you said that like really kind of clicked for you?
Oh, Louis Fertino's show.
Louis Fertino, yeah. Because I just remember as a kid, like kind of my parents were, they took me to a Christo show at, I think the, whatever's in Washington, D.C., the National Gallery. And I was like blown away. I was like super excited. I was running around, and Calder had the same effect on me, you know? But I wonder, you just helped me realize that like, is that a universal experience for all artists where they see something and they're like, and then all of a sudden it clicks in your head and you're like, oh shit, this is awesome. And I can see myself pursuing this.
I think my first one was Disney movies.
Yeah.
Like the original animated, like I think that was something that set me off early. And then I think, seeing these shows
especially
made the switch, you know, for painting too. But
yeah, and I think that like, because I grew up around a lot of art. I grew up around in Italy where it was like just everywhere, right?
There's some good art.
Just like, you know, some of the stuff that people haven't gotten over yet.
Right.
People are like, oh, I hate modern art, but this stuff is the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't until like, I think the experience of that white cube or you know, a gallery setting like that starkness, it's amazing how like, just thinking about how like strong that is of an experience, you know, because when you were saying that, it immediately took me back to mine. Like I it's just an interesting thing. Now I struggle to get out to see art, but
yeah, I think it's funny with the, you know, I think there's one of the things the two teachers that I met at Parsons also, I think, really instilled in me was seeing artists as people. And I think that that's something you don't necessarily get from like a white cube gallery or museum. Is it's like, oh, here's this perfect finished thing on the wall. And I think once I started seeing artists, even, you know, like Leonardo da Vinci, they would be looking at his sketchbooks with us and be like, oh, you can see messed up a little there, things like that. It's like, I think that really got me excited about being an artist, where it's like, oh, it's not about being perfect, it's about trying to figure something out. And I think that was really a pivotal moment.
with my learning disabilities, like I'm dyslexic, and like the fact that he would write things backwards was like one of the like, no, you're okay, you're gonna be okay. This guy was a genius, you're not, you know. So it's funny, like when you start going back and thinking about and trying to like figure out like why is this so goddamn important? Like why do I give a shit? But that's really cool, man. I like it's exciting to see somebody that like, you know, like not. It seems like your illustration work and that kind of stuff kind of helped you with the business side of things, and maybe helped you approach it in a way that if you had just gone to art school straight up and never had this other career, you wouldn't have been so like, oh, okay, this is how you do it. Like, you know, because I mean, that's a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely...
And you weren't using any of your clout from your other thing. You were like hiding it.
I mean, there's a few times... Yeah, I mean, illustration can be kind of a dirty word in the
art world too.
Yeah, and so, I think it definitely helped, because I think I love a deadline. I'm really like... I love getting things done by a deadline, and
I think that's one of the problems a lot of artists have. They don't have deadlines,
right? And like I'm used to negotiating contracts and things, and and just kind of thinking about the business side of things. And so I think that has helped me a little bit. Yeah. I think also just having a career that I like, that
you weren't trying to run away from.
Yeah, like maybe a little bit run away from it, but like I think it's different than being like, oh, I just want to get rid of this day job. And, you know. So I think that was helpful.
Yeah, that's amazing. Definitely. Well, then tell me a little bit more about just kind of what you're interested in painting now, like, and the process. How much do you spend your time painting versus drawing?
That's a good question. I think a lot of what I do now always starts with drawing. Mm-hmm. So
are you a planner?
I'm a planner to a degree. With books, you really have to plan everything out, and so I think that in my own personal practice, I like to leave it a little bit more spontaneous, so that it feels more creative and a little bit more, I guess, just a different mindset than the illustration work. So I'll usually do, like, I'll go out on a hike, or, you know, walk around our garden or something like that, and do plein air studies. And that usually kind of gets juices flowing. And I think it's, for me, because I did a lot of that kind of work as an illustrator too, I think of more interesting color palettes. I, notice things better when I'm drawing from life like that. So that's usually part of where I'll start, or I'll, invite friends over, or force my husband to pose for me, or whatever it is. And
how was your husband with you with all these Zoom?
He didn't care. He was like, no, have fun. He's an artist too, so I think he understands that.
All right.
There's nothing inherently sexual
was he
about
jealous when you got into New American Paintings?
No, he does ceramics. So,
okay, all right.
Yeah,
it's so
he's very supportive. Yeah, I think I think some artist couples maybe have competition, but no, he's great.
I mean, it's the eternal struggle. Like, do you date someone that's not that has nothing in common with you, or that doesn't understand that side of you, or?
Well, he's kind of the perfect match because he understands it all, but he does something different. So we can kind of like.
And also, ceramicists are weirdos too. Like their patience is like fucking like the immediacy of painting versus like having to wait weeks for your shit to get fired.
True.
I would just die.
Yeah. Well, and I'm even worse because I think that's part of the reason I like drawing is because it's very immediate.
No, 100%.
And then with painting, I'm like, I have like 10 more like layers of things to do before it looks like something I like. But
I wanted to continue these paintings, but then I started to like.
Move on.
Gesso everything, and I was like, this is taking forever. Yeah. So I just started with these, and now I'm just like gone past. I just had an itch to just like, no, I just need to make stuff.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to kind of move on.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'll go back to it, but it's one of those things where I'm like these will probably become paintings too at some point. But as people want, or my friend Ben wants me to make murals out of them, and I think that would be kind of
like
fun.
Textiles or something too.
Yeah, textiles. Cool. Yeah. It's just so simple. It's really nice sometimes turning off your brain, and like having the decisions already made for you, because that was the decision making on here was just like, I kept moving lines and going back and forth. There's one over here that you can see now. I know what to do with it. It's been up there for like months. Meanwhile,
you find your way with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, this is just the grid, and I make the same thing again and again.
Yeah.
And there's something to that is really nice.
Sometimes it's nice to like keep your hand moving.
Yeah. And like, at first I thought these were dumb, and now I'm seeing they're dumb, but they're not like as dumb as I thought, you know.
Well, there's always something that comes from something.
You got to keep moving. Yeah.
I think, for me, that's always my, whenever I'm feeling stuck, I'll just draw. And I will always find something that interests me.
In the meantime, I'm making an interesting background for my podcast.
There you go.
And if that's all I've done and it keeps people like kind of distracted while that guest is talking, like, I'm hypnotized, I'm good with that.
There you go.
That's all it has to be. And that would be reportage instead of art.
There you go.
I love that they're both French words. And I saw you look up, and you're right. I didn't use that right.
That's okay.
The analogy didn't hold.
It's okay. I won't hold it against you.
But I love that both plein air and reportage are both French words. I wonder if there was like competing factions of like purists.
Maybe.
Like,
I mean, I don't know when that term kind of started getting thrown around.
Like the sharks and the jets of painting.
Yeah. I think it all has come out of Impressionism.
Yeah.
So like some people wanted to...
Yeah,
I feel like there's some, like Daumier, I would consider him like a reportage illustrator, or like Felix Topolsky is also a good one.
Mm-hmm.
But just people, I feel like they were like similar timing, but just doing different things.
Yeah, I guess reportage would be like a way of saying it's more true to what things look like, maybe.
Or like telling a story a little bit more than like Impressionism would be.
Impressionism is mostly just about the light, and the reportage is about the dynamics of people. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow, you're really good at answering my dumb questions. Or helping me through my I don't know what's happening. That's really cool. Is there any particular book that you really enjoyed working on that is like your open, out of 14 books, is there one that you're like, you know what, man, this is my
I mean, there's a few that I really love. I think the one that I had the most fun working on was it's called You Are Home, an Ode to the National Parks. So my dad retired last weekend, but has been working for the National Park Service for like over 40 years.
As what?
He did like value analysis. So like redlining budgets for things around the country.
What's redlining budgets?
Like
putting them in the red?
Like saying, no, you can't have that because we have to stay under budget. So like we grew up visiting national parks and things on summer vacations. And so I think that was like a big part of my childhood. And so I did this book where I got to travel around to 20 different national parks, and all of the I did a bunch of like plein air illustrations that ended up being in the book. So that was just kind of an amazing experience.
And you got paid to do that.
Yeah.
As opposed to all these freeloading van lifers.
Yeah, exactly. Make it count. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So that was great. I mean, I think it's a big part of why we ended up moving to California. And I think it led to my painting practice too, because
Colorado's not that.
What?
Colorado's not that unnatural.
Well, that was from New York though.
Oh, okay. From New York.
Yeah. So
there's no... Yeah. You can't really go back to Colorado and be in the middle of the art world.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that was really amazing. And I think just doing that much landscape, pastel paintings, I think really lit a fire too. And
no, I must be like, I don't know. It just seems like a very nice process. You know? Like there's a lot of people that have like, martyr processes, like when they suffer as part of it, a lot of performance art of like people like just like doing horrible things to their body. But I'm with you. I'm not that kind of dude.
Yeah. I mean, I think, with my current painting practice, I love drawing figures, and I love drawing landscapes. And when I paint, I just kind of bring them together. So it's like, everything that I love to make art about ends up in the painting. So
did you get to do a lot of, did you continue to do reportage while you were just a book author? Yeah,
I would usually do it as part of like the research process. So pretty much every book that I did would have, a month or two of going to different locations and trying to figure out, how I was going to illustrate the book and stuff.
I don't know. It seems like such an adult creative practice. Like, as opposed to like how I think of artists, which are like chaotic and bohemian by
I've
stereotype.
Never really been that. Yeah.
No. But I mean, it's interesting to hear. First of all, it's interesting to hear the joy that your practice gives you, which I think has helped your career as well. Because like, if you're happy, it's, but also just like, the idea of the job of being an author, and how like it's structured, but there is like you know there's 2 months that you go and paint, you know, in preparation. There's the research side of it. It's really interesting. And how did you end up doing so many? I guess two that you mentioned, books about the about artists. Like how did that? Do you pitch the books, or do people come
Some
to
of them?
you?
Yeah,
Okay.
the ones that I write, I'll pitch to publishers. So the Ben Shahn book, I think because my illustration work kind of resembles his work, just because I look at his paintings a lot. And then I think because I'm half Jewish, I think that there was a connection there because he was a Jewish immigrant to the United States. And so I think that there was a connection there as far as like personal connection to the story too. So that was the first book that I did. And
is his work about the immigration part of things? Okay.
Yeah, so he was kind of 1920s through 50s. So he did a lot of WPA murals, like during the Depression.
That's the public works.
Yeah, public works. So he did a lot of murals during the Depression and things talking about the plight of people around the country. And
so this was a program that was kind of happening at the same time as like the photographers.
He did that. He did the photography as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So like
farm exchange or some shit like that.
I can't remember. So he like traveled around.
Gone to school.
I know my brain is holding on to less than it used to.
Yeah, Jesus. Like, why did I learn that?
Yeah. But yeah, so he did. So that was the first book that I did, kind of, and learned a lot about him. And then the Hockney book I pitched. And I think part of it was I had read another children's book that I won't mention the name of, but about a gay artist that nowhere in the entire book did it mention that he was gay, and seemed like actively avoided talking about it. And it pissed me off so much that I was like, I don't want someone to do that with David Hockney, where it's like it's an important part of his work. And, I want to make sure that like when people are learning about him, they're learning about that as part of him. And so I pitched that idea for the book.
Yeah, that's interesting. That how is that to approach that in like that? You know, because I mean, you hear it all the time. They're trying to indoctrinate. Like, is your publisher just like not that kind of worried about that kind of thing?
They were very supportive, and then I was kind of bracing for
the backlash,
but there wasn't any. So
no,
I mean, knock on wood. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's probably banned somewhere, but I haven't gotten like.
You don't.
It's kind of more of a niche book, so I think, and for older readers, so I think maybe they.
Yeah.
People didn't try to take a stand against it or anything, but yeah, I was definitely prepared for the backlash because I had started painting by that time as well, with my face out there and things like that, and I was like, well, if I guess we'll see what happens. Yeah. But
that's crazy. Yeah, I wonder. I mean, first of all, it's awesome that you're in that industry because like I wouldn't even know how to break into it. But it's interesting, that balance of like being afraid of like it, and it's nice that you're at this point. It's not a concern.
Yeah.
How did you start to find out? It just you kept waiting to get smacked and it never happened.
Yeah, a little bit, and then I ended up doing an interview with a queer website, Queerty, when that book was coming out, and I also had a show opening at the same time, and I was like, let's talk about them both. And so I think once I put that out there, and there wasn't like some torch wielding villagers outside my house after, I was like, okay, well, I guess that's fine.
That's crazy. I mean, like, first of all, that's not overhyped. That does happen here in California too.
Exactly.
So it's not an invalid fear,
Yeah.
Like people think of California as this like really friendly place, but I'm sure it's not everywhere.
No, and I mean, like friends that are teachers, and a lot of the battleground areas are in like Temecula, which isn't too far from where we live in Riverside, and then like Chino Hills is also one of the kind of hot spots for
all
book challenging and taking down pride flags and all of that. So
that's wild.
Yeah.
I have nothing to hide about myself in my art practice, so that's really a head scratcher. I mean, I also am like not really very responsible in terms of my politics, and I could probably get in trouble if I had a different kind of job.
Yeah.
but yeah, so I mean, that is a privilege that I hadn't considered, of like, because I'm sure that there's a lot of places you're working at that you can't say the things that I'm saying about what's happening right now.
Definitely.
So that's nice. I do have a little bit of an anonymity in my professional life, which I guess you kind of maintained for a little while, and then you were
not so
like,
much anymore.
Yeah, not so much anymore. But that must be freeing too, right? Like you can be an author as yourself, as opposed to like being worried that people might find out.
Yeah, and I think because I found some measure of success with the painting stuff, I'm more confident in just putting myself with it and out there, and I think it feels like it's authentic. So
Yeah. No.
Fuck it. Yeah, I guess.
I'm sorry for harping on it. It's just fascinating.
I know. I sprung my real name on you driving here. So,
yeah. It's it's just an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I've gotten used to sort of just forgetting about being public. Even though I'm not like famous or anything, but like and that process for me was kind of interesting. Just sort of like meeting people that have heard the show and kind of have a sense for me and are like nice to me because of it is like is not what I expected. I'm like I spent all my time worrying about getting canceled myself for whatever, and like particularly for certain political opinions that I hold that are leading to people losing their accounts and shit. Yeah. But yeah, that must be crazy. Like I just haven't tried on someone else's perspective of like that anxiety of like your art might actually hurt your career.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an interesting, I think, and I do talk about it some in my painting too, where I think a lot of queer people have these kind of compartmentalized identities. Mm-hmm. There's things that you talk with your gay friends about that you don't talk to your straight friends about, or there's things that you don't talk to your family about, or there's things that you don't talk about at work. And, I think, so we all kind of grow up having these identities where you're not necessarily always your entire full self for everyone. And so I think that
I've just been belligerent my whole life.
Yeah. I mean, some people are just 100% same person in every situation. And I admire that. And I think for me, I tend to navigate it a little bit more like, oh, is that too much, too little? And I think and so there
I'm like, I'm too much.
But yeah, sometimes like in my paintings I'll have like it appears just like a landscape, but in the background there's like guys cruising and fucking behind bushes. And I think that I like that kind of dual element to it where it's it feels more like real life a little bit, where like there's parts of you that aren't always at the forefront too. Right?
Yeah. That in the back of
more
your
than
mind.
meets the eye, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. So how many national parks are there? Are there only 20?
I think there's, I'm gonna get the number wrong. It's like around 60.
60. Okay. All right. So you picked your favorite for the book?
I tried to pick ones that would be close to other ones so that I could drive around.
So you did like a ring.
Yeah, like I took like 3 weeks to go to like Utah, Colorado parks, and then
Utah's fucking crazy.
We just got back from Zion National Park in
I've
Bryce.
never been anywhere like that.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah. I've been places, but I was like, holy shit, this is America.
Yeah, I know. It's like, I think that's part of the reason that I wrote the book, where I was like, this is the best America has. Like, like it still has a complicated history, and
Yeah.
But it's, it's like, this is the best we have to offer. So
yeah, I did in Arches Park, I think it was. We hiked out. It was the only time I've ever done this. Hiked out 6 miles to camp, and then like had to poop out in nature, in the wilderness. Yeah, and it was like such a trip. I had never been like, oh, you know what? Let's not eat so we don't have to poop.
You're like, is this what it's being on a restrictive diet or something?
Yeah. I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm not that hungry. But yeah, I mean, that wasn't the highlight of the trip. Sure. But so then what are your favorite parks? Like what are some recommendations? Because I know that you're like now that I know, I mean, how do people react to you when you're out there painting?
People like,
I'm picturing like a Ken Burnsy kind of music in the background and a prospector scout. Hey there, sir.
I mean, I'm usually just kind of like plopped in the middle somewhere, and people will come up, and the most common comment is, I can't even draw a straight line.
Oh yeah.
And so now I just say, well, that's what rulers are for. But but no, people
think I can?
Yeah, like I can't really either. But no, people are very friendly, and usually they're interested, and
yeah.
Kids really love it. It's very cute. Like they'll come up and they're always very excited to see what I'm doing, and sometimes they'll like play in another sketchbook that I have or something like that. But yeah.
What percentage of your practice is plein air or reportage? I
would say now, not a huge amount. Like it's really just in the beginning stages.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it's, me in my studio. But yeah.
And then which was your favorite of the national
favorite
parks?
Zion's a great one. I love Zion. Glacier, I think, is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been.
Okay. That's Alaska?
No, it's right on the border with Canada in Montana.
All right.
So I went there. I think I was there for 3 days when I was working on the book, and just hiking around. I saw moose, grizzly bears, deer.
Like scary?
No. I mean, my husband was always very scared that I was going to get like eaten by something when I was doing these trips. But I have a very like, if I get eaten by a bear while I'm out drawing, it's not the worst way to die. So I don't think he appreciated that. Yeah, but like I was never in any serious danger. But I was probably like a little bit too close to a couple bears. But
damn,
like
dude.
we just don't really notice there.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever come across a bear.
They're big.
Yeah, no, that shit is scary.
Black bears are small. They kind of just look like dogs, but
aren't the
grizzly bears are big.
Who are the most dangerous ones?
Grizzly bears.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just happier never having. I mean, they're majestic and shit, but
yeah, I've always wanted to see a mountain lion, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I don't know what the only thing that I've seen that's terrifying and very close is gators.
Oh, yeah.
But I love those things.
I went to the Everglades for the book. Saw
really?
a lot of gators.
Is that a national park?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that place is pretty cool.
It is cool.
It's just water.
It's very flat.
Yeah, it's very flat and it's just water. But then there's like lookout points that you can see. There's a Shark Valley that has a really nice like lookout out, and then it's like 1960s like super sci-fi futurist kind of thing. And then you walk up all the way to the top, and you look down, and it's just gators.
Oh my God.
Just gators.
Yeah, they're
like romancing the stone level of crocs.
Yeah, there's a few times where I was like sitting on one of the boardwalks like drawing, and then I hear this like and I look over, it's like, oh, there's a gator right next to me.
Yeah, they're chill. They're
I mean, they weren't gonna eat me for the most part.
Yeah, I don't know if I've told this story on the show before, but one time my dad and my siblings, we went on a bike ride on that trail on the Shark Valley. It's not a valley, it's just a path that's shaped like a valley, so they call it a valley for some reason. So
the Florida Valley.
Yeah. So on the way out there, we're seeing like gators on the path, and you have to kind of go around them. They're just chilling, and then on the way back, it gets pitch dark, and there's no city light, or there's no glow from the city. It's just pitch dark, and you can only see like a few feet in front of you. And we had to ride back. We were so fucking scared.
Did you like run over anything?
No. It was fine, but it was terrifying. It was like, oh shit, we're not. Yeah. And it's one of those things where like you forget how dark the world gets. That's the other thing about those places.
Yeah, I had an experience like that in Yellowstone, because I went in the middle of the winter for the book, and I was just by myself, and I got into my Airbnb in like the middle of the night, but I was driving down the road, and because you have the lights on, you can just see like dozens of elk on either side of the street just waiting to cross. An elk are the size of a truck. So
no, that's
I was just driving through like, please don't come out into the road.
Yeah, I was like, one time I was my brother was driving on icy roads to get to the mountains, and I just was like not thinking about it. I was like, yeah, like on YouTube sometimes I really like to watch ice crash videos, and everybody in the car was like, no,
like, shut up,
fuck you.
Yeah, there's a time and a place for those.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I guess. I was just free associating.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, that's cool. I mean, listening to you talk about this stuff makes me kind of want to go back. I mean, I know that it's not necessarily part of your practice anymore, but you did mention that you wanted to talk a little bit about nature and stuff.
Yeah.
What? How were you a Boy Scout? How did you get into it?
I wasn't. No, I think it was mostly just
Colorado.
from just from Colorado. Everyone there is a little bit of a Boy Scout from existing. But yeah, I mean, I think that was nature's still a big part of my practice. I think it's just more at the beginning stages.
No, I mean, just because you're not painting out there doesn't mean it's not something that you do. You're still hiking and stuff, right?
Yeah, and a lot of the
I can tell because you're not.
Yeah, like a lot of the places in the paintings are based on drawings that I did plein air, and so I think that it connects me to kind of places that are special to me in the painting part of it as well.
And are you like how deep into the Colorado? Like how granola did you get? Because I mean, you've got a little of the New York and LA stink on you.
Yeah,
now, you've been here long enough. Like
I think I was in New York for too long, and also maybe like a little too old to like rough it too much. I mean, I know people do, but I think grown out of the completely roughing it. Yeah. Also, I was on a schedule, so I would typically stay in like an Airbnb or a hotel. I didn't camp on any of the.
But like, were you
trips
barefoot with a reed in like,
I was not, no.
when you were a kid?
Oh, when I was a kid? Probably.
What's growing up in Little Rock aside from the excessive mourning that you guys had to go through?
Yeah, I mean, I think I had like a pretty typical suburban childhood.
Yeah, but there's like mountains there.
Yeah, so we would definitely go hiking in the mountains and stuff, and like we had a park behind our house where there was like a creek that you could, no
fish rock
the
climbing?
crawdads out, and we would do like bouldering.
Just
like,
okay. Yeah. But you never got you weren't you
I'm
didn't
not
catch
a thrill
the
seeker.
No. Well, I mean, I don't know about a thrill seeker. It's more of like a mental challenge.
Yeah, I did it in like one of the fake gyms. And it was fun. I like it, but I don't need to die. But.
So yeah, because like the Colorado, I went there when I was 15, and I did I went to Boulder and my dad was doing some kind of educational thing with the BU, and then he he knew that I had always been interested. I lived in Florida, so I was like, it was like, there's mountains. We're gonna put you in mountaineering school, because I used to watch Cliffhanger and like really bad movies like K2, like B movies about rock climbing, because I was just so fascinated with it. And I went there, and it was just such a crazy thing. And one of the things that I realized is like there are different ethnic groups that we consider rednecks, like Florida rednecks. I mean, I shouldn't use the term Florida. What is a good substitute?
I'm not wading into that
one. But I don't use it disparagingly. I like good old boys. Good old boys. That's the one that I use when I'm talking to them. But like the vibe is very different in Florida versus like. I don't know. It was just an interesting thing. As a Latino family, we were a little nervous because of like we didn't know those kinds of good old boys. Like the good old boys are a little bit like you know how they're gonna react to you.
Right.
But I just remember that place being amazing, and like just that was like before phones. Yeah, and like tubing and shit like that, like I was definitely jealous of the Colorado lifestyle.
It was a nice place to grow up. It's beautiful there.
Do you get back out there much?
Yeah, usually at least once a year. My family's all there still, so yeah.
What percentage of your family is good old boys?
I would say 0.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I have a very small family, and
yeah. No, I mean it was an interesting place, and I can't imagine how much more gentrification has happened in Boulder since then. I was like 20. No, I even started it wrong. It was 1995, not 20. 20 something. Well, cool, man. Anything that I haven't really asked you about? Anything that you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, I've got a show coming up that opens in a few weeks in New York. At Yossi Milo Gallery in New York.
Is it? Are you represented by somebody?
I'm not. No.
So you're. How do you navigate all of the, like all these relationships? You're not under contract with anyone. So
yeah, I mean it's just kind of like on a case by case basis, and like if a gallery approaches me, and then.
Interesting. So far, I've only talked to people that have representation, and then they get other, like their galleries get them shows in other places. It seems like you're just doing this as a one-man thing.
Yeah.
Like your own representation.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, I think if I find a good fit, then
you
that'd be great. But yeah, I mean, I think, it's just kind of finding the people you want to work with and hopefully.
And you're not pitching them. They're approaching you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like just from your Instagram?
Yeah. I think it's.
How many followers do you have?
Not like a ton, like 11,000 or something. Like not like.
That's
not like exorbitant amount.
That's a sizable amount. I would kill you for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny because since I didn't come up through like the traditional art world, I think I feel a little bit like an outsider, and so I think it's been nice that I think that
you're not an outsider, dude. You're
not
deeper
anymore, but
you're deeper in than most of the people I know. No, I don't mean it like that. No, I mean like you're in. I would say that like. People that have access to showing in galleries that are commercial, that puts you at least more inside than all of the people that are, inside that art world. Yeah. Inside the one that, like, I don't think you would be jealous of the people that would be jealous of you.
Well, I think I benefited because of, since I was kind of getting the ball rolling right when COVID was happening, a lot of galleries weren't even doing physical shows for a while. And a lot of it became very Instagram based during like 2020, 2021. And that's when I was like really starting to put stuff out there. And so I think I kind of got a foot in the door there by doing some online shows. And then once galleries reopened, then I started, showing in person, which was nice. But
all right, don't be surprised if you see my personal account start to look a lot more like yours. How do you go about documenting your work? You actually have really good imagery. Well, sometimes I'll take a picture of my stuff and then I'll be like, I'm excited, it looks good, and I post it and it just looks dark on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, I have some. I think because I was doing like graphic design and things like that, I'm pretty good with Photoshop and lighting and things like that. So I can do okay on my own with that kind of stuff. Yeah.
No, okay. I mean, now I'm just trying to think about like tips for listeners. Like what can we learn from this anomaly of like a person that just has the right brain for this business? Literally, I think that if you had gone to art school, you might have had a harder time because they don't teach any of what you're good at. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of debated about it when I was. I'm going to start deciding that I wanted to go to art school, and I was trying to think, I think I have a very like task-driven mindset, and so I chose Parsons, which is more on the professional side of things than like Pratt was the other choice, which I think has more of an art school vibe to it. And in some ways, I feel like I missed out on that a little bit, but I think.
I'm sure you were able to party outside of that.
Party, yeah. I didn't party at all, but yeah, I think I got enough drawing and kind of that art school feeling. It worked out okay, but
that's awesome, man. No, I'm really impressed. And I mean, you see people on Instagram. First of all, it's so funny. Like sometimes I'll realize after the fact, like just now I was like, how many followers do you have? Because of how you were talking about it. Because like, I can't imagine if you have 1,000 followers, people are hitting you up for shows. You know what I mean? So like you have a pretty big presence. I was like, it's just funny to like kind of be like, oh shit.
Yeah, I think one thing that's really nice also is that the queer art community is very supportive.
Yes.
And like I think that because it's a niche market, I think that like queer artists are, like I always try to share other artists, and I think a lot of queer artists do that too. And then I think the queer collector base also wants to support it. So I think it's kind of a nice little niche thing where people are more vocal about the art that they like because it kind of has that feeling that I had when I first, saw these artists where I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know that was being made. And I think that it encourages all of us to be more supportive of each other.
No, for sure.
Is nice.
And what you're saying is interesting because I just talked to Ketty Howland Chang. Sorry, Ketty, whose episode is already out. I'm sorry for she won't be surprised, but I'm sorry for butchering your name. I was asking her like what her favorite episodes of the show are, and when she was listening, I was like, oh, so the Asian women.
Yeah.
And there is a tendency. I do the same thing with Latinos. You know, like it is a tendency to sort of like be like, oh, I being able to project yourself and wanting to support that is really cool.
Yeah,
so,
and like lift up the people that inspire you too. And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
nice.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, man. It's nice to meet you. I think I've seen you on Instagram, and I was been kind of curious about what this dude's about. But now I'm like, oh shit, I should study him.
I don't know about that.
But yeah, thank you for doing the show. Anything that we can promote? You mentioned the show in New York. What's that show called?
It's called Carry It With You, and it opens at Yossi Milo on June 26th.
And anything else? What's your Instagram?
j.carino.art.
j.carino.art.
Yeah.
And yeah, and we are always happy to have you guys listen to us and check us out. If you want to help the show, like, subscribe. This week, tell me what your favorite, comment what your favorite national park is. And if you've ever done any plein air drawing, or if you've been discouraged by teachers because it was passé, and then now you feel like you should do it. Such a like the only thing they could comment is yes.
Thumbs up. Yeah.
And then we are we have the Patreon. Early access is $5 a month. It really helps us out. We do have overhead, even though I would do this for free. And yeah, we'll be back next week with another guest and another topic that may or may not be art related. Thank you, man.
Thank you for having me.
No, my pleasure.